Rasmus Højlund to leave Manchester United on a permanent deal, or at least a loan with an obligation to buy. Rasmus Højlund forcing permanent exit. He doesn't want to go on loan and end up at Manchester United next season, looking for a club again next season, being part of the bomb squad, as we call it. He wants a permanent deal. Well, when Rasmus Højlund wants a permanent deal, it gives United an extra bit of power because permanent money for Højlund out the door is more important money coming in for Manchester United. If they get 50 million for Garnacho, if they get 40 million for Rasmus Højlund, those funds can put us in a much stronger position for Operation Midfield, Operation Goalkeeper, because is the Carlos Baleba deal really over? That's a conversation we're going to have because we're still only looking at him in midfield. Is it because we're just going to get him next year and just not sign anyone else to impact our budget for next year? Or could we still have that hope that we can get him late in the window? As reported in my live stream earlier today, Carlos Baleba has his heart set on Manchester United, whether it's this summer or next summer, who knows, but he wants that move and he'll push for the move. He's going to be respectful to Brighton. He's not going to do anything crazy. But yeah, we've also got updates on Joshua Zirkzee and more. So, hello, and welcome back to Alice Talks Football, and welcome back to your 10-minute Manchester United news roundup. Well, we're going to round up all the news very late here in 10 minutes for you guys, so you are completely up to date. I'm not going to bother talking about Garnacho in today's show because I basically ranted about it for ages on my live stream earlier today, but it's a situation of we want 50 million, Chelsea want to get him for cheaper. Apparently it's close, but we keep getting told that Chelsea value him at this, we value him at that. To be honest, with Garnacho, until it's a done deal, I can't be asked to talk about it. But talking of a deal that could be done, that could advance quickly, Rasmus Højlund. Now, I don't know if you watched his video where he was giving his name, but he literally went Rasmus Højlund. He took a big break. Anyway, Rasmus Højlund is keen on a move to Napoli, and his camp have made clear to Napoli, RB Leipzig, AC Milan, and all clubs interested that he prefers a loan with obligation to buy. Rasmus Højlund keen on a move to Napoli, and his camp have made it clear to Napoli, RB Leipzig, AC Milan, and all clubs interested that he prefers a loan with an obligation to buy. Now, if you're not aware, Rasmus Højlund to AC Milan has fallen through. AC Milan are now going to sign Victor Boniface. I think the reason it's fallen through is because Højlund said no to Milan, who were waiting for the green light, because he said, I don't want to go on loan with an option to buy and be sent back to Man United next year. Rasmus Højlund's protecting himself, and that is fair. If he goes on loan with an option to buy, they realise they don't have to buy him, so they might not play him, they might not treat him as well, and he'll get sent back to Man United next year, kicked out the squad, part of the bomb squad, while he looks for his move. He does not want that. He's got RB Leipzig interested in him, who just got a load of money from Sesko. I wonder who gave them that. And Napoli interested in him. And he's in a position where he's trying to force a permanent move. Simon Stone also confirmed that Højlund and AC Milan deal collapsed because the deal did not include an obligation to buy. Højlund didn't want to go on with an option to buy. And I respect Højlund for that. I think the best thing you can do is an obligation to buy. I respect Højlund for that. He's realised he's got to leave Manchester United. It's a tough decision for him. He doesn't want to leave. Had he joined at a different time, maybe it could have worked out at Man United. His dream is Manchester United. His dream is to make this Manchester United transfer work. He's a Manchester United fan. And it's not worked out because he's coming probably at a wrong time. I still think there's a good player in there. Sesko's there to replace him. Amorim's made it clear. He's realised he's got to go. But he's also going, well, I want a permanent then. I don't want to be hanging around. And that's fair. Because it's obviously been said that Napoli in recent hours have now chosen to focus on a deal for Højlund. It remains to be seen whether the club can convince the player to reach a full agreement. But Napoli continue to monitor alternatives and keep multiple plans ready. So Napoli are keeping themselves in a strong negotiating position and saying we're not just focusing on Højlund. But in recent hours, Napoli have chosen to focus on Højlund. They've got backup options, but Højlund's the one that they want. But it's can they reach an agreement with the player? They know what Manchester United want, but they now know the player wants an obligation to buy. Are they willing to do an obligation to buy? Maybe there's an obligation if he hits a certain amount of goals. Are they willing to do an obligation? Now, I think Napoli is the best move for Højlund. I think it's better than Inter. I think it's better than AC Milan. We know what Conte can do with strikers. I think Napoli is the perfect move for Højlund, and I hope that he gets this move, and I hope he goes to Napoli. And I honestly hope he does really well because I think he works hard. I think he tries. He genuinely cares about the club. And the thing about Højlund as well is he's not on high wages, so it's easy to do the move. He's come to the realisation that he's got to go. But he's basically said to AC Milan, I want an obligation. Man United were willing to accept option but prefer obligation. So Højlund's helping us in a weird way. Højlund's helping us in a weird way because we want obligation, he wants obligation, and Højlund's got a bit of power in that. And Napoli are in a position now where they might have to do a permanent deal because that's what Højlund wants, and that's how they're going to get Højlund. With Lukaku's injury, they kind of need that. But also, they've always had interest in Højlund. So yeah, obviously it was mentioned by Sky Sports Chief that Ruben Amorim has closed the door on Højlund staying at United, and the player knows he won't be first choice, blah, blah, blah. He obviously wasn't in the squad against Arsenal. He didn't play in the preseason game, and in that preseason game, Amorim said after the game he clearly lacked a striker. Luckily, we have Sesko going in, which is a dig at Højlund, and he barely got any minutes versus, was it Everton we played in that final preseason game? So I think as much as Højlund loves Manchester United and he wants to make it work, he's come to the realisation it's time to move on, but he's saying, I want to move on in a permanent deal, not a loan. I don't want to be bouncing back and forth. He's probably seen Sancho, Garnacho. He just doesn't want to be one of them. And I respect that. So, talking of Jadon Sancho, Sancho is exploring other options to Roma. The other options is probably running down his contract so he can get a big buyout clause and make as much money as possible. Sancho's focus is money, not football. That is very clear. It doesn't take a genius to tell you that. The guy that did a statement against Ten Hag saying, all I want to do is play football, biggest liar ever, because you've had many opportunities to play football and you've said no. You could have apologised and played football, but you'd rather sit out for 4 months. Sancho's focus is his ego and his money. He didn't want to apologise to Ten Hag because he didn't want to look like he was wrong, stubbornness. I mean, it's the biggest red flag when you look at attitude in a player. And good riddance, but he's probably still going to be at the club this time next year, running down his contract, unless A, we give him the money he wants, which is like over 10 million to pay him out his contract, B, his agent lowers his demands, or C, he ends up going to Dortmund and we pay half his wages. I think it's going to be C. I think he's going to run down his contract. I think we're going to send him out on loan, pay half his wages, so then when he joins a club next summer, he gets a big signing on fee and he can make as much money as possible. Because he had Chelsea, Club World Cup champions, just won a European trophy, in the Champions League next season, in London, in for him. He went, nah, don't want that 200k a week. He knows he's not going to get 200k a week from another top club in Europe. He knows he's not going to get the money he's at United. He's on 250k a week at United. He knows he's never going to get that again. He's been offered 200k a week at Chelsea. He knows he's not going to get that unless he goes to Saudi or Turkey. But he rejected Saudi and Turkey because he wants to stay in the top 5 leagues. And none of the other top 5 league clubs are going to offer him more than Chelsea, but he rejected Chelsea. Rome obviously is in for him, a chance to play under Gasperini that revived Adoma Lukman's career. Gasperini, a good manager. I think the Italian league is slower. It suits him better. Revive his career. Like, he has this chance to go to Roma for his career. No. So he's not thinking about what's best for his career. He's not thinking about getting out of Man United and freedom like he says. He's thinking about money. And let's be honest, he's waiting to see if someone's going to give him crazy wages, aka run down his contract. I want to talk about Baleba because Fabrizio Romano said this. On potential midfield targets, I'm not aware of United opening talks with other midfielders after Baleba. Let's see in the upcoming days. But Romano is basically saying, as he's aware, we're only in for Baleba, which is obviously unlikely to happen because Brighton say it's not for sale. He's saying we're not in for Lucien Gome. Now, the copium in me that's deluding myself into hoping we get Baleba is saying, well, if Højlund goes on a permanent, if we do finally sell Garnacho, maybe we're going for Baleba late. Maybe United are putting out that they've walked away from Baleba because Chelsea have the hope. Chelsea are playing you need Baleba, so you need the Garnacho money to get Baleba. Maybe we're saying, well, actually, we're not going to get Baleba this summer, so we don't need the Garnacho money. Maybe we're trying to act like we've done all our business, so Chelsea have got nothing to hold against us and be like, Man United desperate for the money. We can act like we're not desperate for the money. Maybe there's a chance you make a late bid for Baleba when the sales have happened, because he never even made a bid and tested the water. And I think there's always a price that Brighton will sell for. So there is a deluded part of me saying, well, is Baleba still on? Because surely we have to sign a midfielder. Like, Ruben Amorim's made it very clear we need a midfielder. It doesn't take a genius to tell you we need a midfielder. But we haven't looked at Baleba alternatives yet. Is the reason because we're so confident to get him in 2026, we're just not going to buy a midfielder and wait it out a year, which is a huge risk. Surely we just want to bring in a stopgap at least for a year. Or are we planning to go back for Baleba? Maybe it's copium because I want to sign him. Who knows? I lastly wanted to talk about Zirkzee. So Sam C reports said that Joshua Zirkzee has no plans to leave Manchester United before the deadline day. United also have no desire to let Zirkzee leave either. It's understood that some high up at United think Zirkzee has the ceiling of new signing Mateus Cunha. There's a lot of people inside Manchester United that think Zirkzee will be a success. Zirkzee doesn't want to leave despite interest in him. I don't want Zirkzee to leave, so yeah, Zirkzee's not going anywhere. Good news. We'll keep you updated. We'll be back live tomorrow. Thank you for watching. Bye.